They used to sacrifice animals and even humans. They would then paint eggs.
Think about what bunny rabbits are known for. Humping. Dude, you put two rabbits together, dude, next thing you know, there's 100.
This includes Easter because it's a Babylonian pagan holiday.
Easter is the most important day of the year for Christians, but should it be? Not if you listen to some of the people on TikTok and X. In this video, I'll react to social media influencers who attempt to slander Christianity and further fuel people's skepticism about Jesus. My name's Eric, and I'm a Christian pastor in Houston, Texas, and I'm really glad that you're here. Now let's get right into it.
I just learned something shocking about Easter, and it's giving me absolute goosebumps. Did you know Easter has nothing to do with Christianity or Jesus dying on the cross? Its origins are so creepy. It's freaking me out. It all started with an ancient pagan god called Eostre. Easter, Eostre. Similar, right? So Eostre is the god of fertility, and this festival was held every April at the beginning of spring to pray for blessings of new life.
All right, I'll interrupt just a second. I appreciate her enthusiasm, great accent, all of that. She's just so obviously wrong here across the board. First of all, she claims Eostre was the pagan goddess of fertility. She doesn't say where she was worshipped or by whom. She just says it so matter-of-factly that you would think we have troves of ancient writings and artifacts to back up her claim about Eostre. There's really actually little to no evidence supporting that idea that Eostre was a well-known pagan goddess. The only historical mention of the goddess Eostre is found in writings from an English monk, a Christian English monk named Beda, who lived in the 8th century AD, so pretty late, 8 centuries after the first Easter. But historians believe that Christians were celebrating the day of Christ's resurrection as early as the 2nd century until it finally became an official holiday around 325 AD, which is 500 years before Beda wrote about Eostre. Now let's get back to the video.
Whether that meant having babies or a good harvest. But this is where it gets creepy. So firstly, they used to sacrifice animals and even humans. They would then paint eggs in this blood from the sacrifice and hide them in fields in hopes that God would bless their land. Ugh. Also, if someone found one of these blood eggs, it would be seen as good luck. And this is where the Easter egg hunt comes from. Thirdly, you know the Easter bunny? Rabbits are actually seen as the pagan fertility symbol because they reproduce so much. Crazy, right?
It would be crazy. It would be creepy if any of it were true. She said whoever they is, they used to sacrifice animals and humans and paint eggs with the blood from the sacrifices. I looked into that just to see if I was missing something, but I couldn't find any credible historical evidence that any of the blood egg stuff ever happened in the way that she said it happened. Now, did pagans sacrifice animals? Yes. Did they sometimes practice human sacrifice? Of course. But did they paint eggs with blood and hide them in their fields so the goddess Eostre would bless their crops? No, there's no evidence of that whatsoever, and it's certainly not where the Christian tradition of Easter eggs comes from. Its true origins are tied in with the Christian season of Lent, and it goes way back in history. During that time, medieval times, believers used to fast from meat and all other animal-based foods during Lent, the 40 days of Lent, and that included eggs. And so the original Easter egg hunt recorded in history involved children in Europe going door to door the night before Lent, which is the day we call Fat Tuesday. Now, if you've ever been to New Orleans, you know what I'm talking about. And what they would do is beg for eggs, door to door, kind of like kids trick or treat now. They begged for eggs, and they would eat all the eggs they collected that night as a way of feasting before their Lenten fast began the next day. That's where it all began. Let's see what's next.
On top of this, Jesus never told us to worship his death day. In fact, he actually warned against it. In Mark 7:6, Jesus criticizes man-made traditions that replace true worship. So around 300 AD, early Christian leaders ignored Jesus' clear warnings and decided to rebrand pagan holidays to spread Christianity. The church rebranded Eostre as the resurrection of Jesus to make it easier for pagans to convert to Christianity. They also did this with Christmas, Valentine's Day, Halloween, and even New Year's. Crazy, right? Now, what makes this even worse is that we've all been brainwashed. Easter isn't even about faith anymore. It's turned into this huge scam for big corporations to make you feel pressured into spending your hard-earned savings on buying copious amounts of chocolate, spoiling your children, and allowing them to eat toxic levels of sugars and processed junk. Sorry, but I'm boycotting Easter this year. Why are we even celebrating something that Jesus specifically told us not to? What do you guys think?
Okay, ma'am. I don't mean to laugh at her. I think she's delightful and enthusiastic, and that's fine. Just has to be said, first of all, that Easter isn't the celebration of Jesus's death date, like she said. That got under my skin a little just as a pastor. Easter is the celebration of his resurrection date. And she also said that Jesus specifically instructed his followers not to celebrate his death and resurrection. But then the passage she pointed to is Mark chapter 7, verse 6, and it has nothing at all to do with his death or his resurrection, nothing to do with Easter. Jesus in that passage is criticizing the religious leaders, Pharisees, who were judging his followers for eating food before washing their hands. That's the context. And his argument was that they were being so rigid in their religion, so judgmental, that they were missing the point of a true relationship with God, which isn't just about expressing a religious adherence. It's about expressing our love and our affection for God and not letting the rules get in the way. And so Jesus wasn't at all talking about Easter in that passage. She totally took it out of context. But let's say, okay, I'll play along. Just for the sake of argument, let's assume that this young lady's right. Let's say the early Christians did, in fact, rebrand pagan holidays and make them Christian. And she said they did it with Valentine's Day, which came a lot later. But anyway, she said they did it with Halloween even, which has never been a Christian holiday. So she's all over the place. But let's say she's right. And Christians did this to make it easier, as she said, for outsiders to feel at home in the church. Now, if in doing that, they're replacing all the false pagan stuff with all the true Christian stuff, if they take out all the false gods and insert the one true God, what would be the problem with that? I guess I just don't see it. I don't care what a holiday is called. I care what it's for and who it's for. And if Easter was Eostre originally, and there's some evidence that Easter, the word, came from a season of Eostre, which may or may not have been named for this ancient pagan goddess, whatever the case, if it's rebranded as a way to celebrate the gospel of Jesus Christ and Christ alone, and to also make room for more people who are coming to faith in Christ, I just don't see the issue there. I just don't see the reason to boycott Christianity on those grounds. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments if you disagree. So yeah, this lady is wrong about almost everything she said. I will give her this. There's one point that I agree with her about, and that is the fact that Christian holidays have become too commercialized in a secular sense. It's become too much about plastic and toys and money and chocolate. That doesn't mean we should boycott these holidays. We shouldn't boycott Easter just because of that. You can boycott the bunny if you want to. I don't really know how to make sense of the bunny. I don't think it's what she claimed it was, but I don't care if you boycott the bunny. Boycott the sugar, boycott the chocolate, all that stuff, boycott it. But don't boycott the celebration of the most important event in human history, which we know to be the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead.
Then why do we celebrate Easter? Why do you hide eggs and bunny rabbits? Well, think about what bunny rabbits are known for. Humping. Dude, you put two rabbits together, dude, next thing you know, there's 100.
Good Lord. First of all, the creepy music under that is kind of hilarious. But how twisted and demented do you have to be to think that bunnies, cute little furry bunnies, are best known for humping? When I think of bunnies, I think about how cute they are. I think about their ears. I think about Thumper from Bambi. I mean, I guess I get it. Rabbits have a reputation, right? We all know what that is. But why does it have to be something that's interpreted as lewd and gross? What if we looked at them and their proclivity and productivity as a symbol of new life? Maybe that's the reason they take a center stage at Easter. They're a symbol of rebirth. That's a Christian theme, instead of just humping, as it were. I don't know. I think this guy's fixation on bunny and bunny humping says more about him than it says about bunnies.
And then the Easter eggs is fertility. It was for the god of Ishtar. Isn't that
Ishtar.
crazy? Most people don't know that. Way back in the day, they celebrated by having orgies and making babies. So 9 months later, they could sacrifice those babies to Horus, the sun god, who was born December 25th, by the way. Now, when do they say Jesus was born? December 25th. He wasn't. And everybody knows that. You go ask any biblical scholar, they will say he was not born in December 25th. Then why are we celebrating Christmas?
Good Lord. Okay. I've already covered the true origins of the Easter egg tradition, so I'm not going to go over the Easter egg thing again. This guy, he's way off, and I don't even know where to begin. First of all, he said way back in the day, they used to celebrate Easter in honor of Ishtar, and they used to have orgies. I don't know who he's talking about there. He didn't specify. Did he mean Christians? Did he mean the original Mesopotamian Babylonians who worshipped Ishtar? Ishtar was a Mesopotamian goddess, and Ishtar is not the same as Eostre, like the last lady was talking about. This is a different goddess that he's saying Easter is really about. And he said that they celebrated the original Easter by orgies and humping, in his word, and 9 months later they had babies as a result of said orgies and humping, and then they proceeded to sacrifice those babies to Horus. That was the long game. They wanted to create babies they could then lay on the altar to Horus, who was the Egyptian sun god from long before the days of Ishtar and Eostre and all the others that they've mentioned. And it was said that Horus, according to this guy, was born on December 25th. And I hope you see it. None of this makes any sense whatsoever. Christians don't celebrate Christmas on December 25th because of Horus. It's because early on in the Christian story, some early Christians tried to do the math. They tried to calculate about when Jesus was born. So they were trying to run the numbers and base it on astronomy and what they knew about when the Star of David was over Bethlehem. And December 25th was where they landed. They were probably off by a little, or maybe more than a little. I don't know. It really doesn't matter. The Bible never says Jesus was born on December 25th, and we don't have to believe that he was actually born on that day in order to celebrate Christmas every year on the 25th of December. It's immaterial. It doesn't matter. And this idea that Horus, the Egyptian sun god, was born on December 25th is also interesting because nobody in history ever said Horus was born on that day or any day until long after the early Christians decided that Jesus was. The only historical mentions on record of Horus's birthday being December 25th emerged after the 4th century AD, which means that according to the historical record, it wasn't the Christians who copied pagan culture. It was really the pagans who tried to copy Christianity.
Hold up, let me tell you something. You ain't about to celebrate that pagan holiday next month, are you? You know what I'm talking about. The holiday that y'all try to claim got to do with God, but it's about bunny rabbits and eggs. You know that day is associated with the pagan god Eostre, the fertility god. Didn't God tell you, don't you put no other god before him? Did not God tell you he is a jealous God? You are not supposed to be practicing paganism. And when you go out and get that ugly pastel suit and dress shoes and get your hair done, nails done, everything did for that pagan ass guy, you are pissing God off. Do you not know that that day is associated with young boys going out to hunt young girls who just started their menstruation so they can get a hold of them and impregnate them? Did you know that? Did you know?
Wow. I did not know that. No, I didn't. I didn't know it because it's not even remotely true. I don't know where she got this. I mean, there's no evidence whatsoever that the Christian Easter egg hunt tradition actually commemorates a pagan ritual in which horny young men went hunting for pubescent girls to impregnate. It's make-believe. It's a lie. Fake news. Next video.
Easter is a pagan holiday that's based off of sacrifice of innocent. Easter replaced the real Passover. And no, it's not Jewish, it's Hebrew. The letter J didn't exist till after the 1500s, people. And remember, what you see today is not real. This includes Easter because it's a Babylonian pagan holiday or holy day for the pagans. Or at least the pagans originally were the ones who created it. And they created it to get us to not think about the Passover, the true holy days or holidays. It's the same thing for Christmas too. Christmas is based off of Thor, who would ride around in his sleigh, and one of his reindeer's name was Bone Crusher. Did you know that? Origins.
I thought he was going to say
Christmas.
Rudolph.
And when you look at Santa Claus, it's really Satan. It's Satan's claws. But they hid it, and they did it in plain sight.
Okay, I don't know what this guy's deal is. I don't know why he's pro-Hebrew, anti-Jewish. There's probably some group I'm not familiar with that he's a part of. At least he had some nice background music to that video. Guys, look, Santa Claus is not a euphemism for Satan's claws. It comes from Sinterklaas, which was short for Saint Nicholas, right? Saint Nick, he was a real man. Nicholas, a Christian, and he was known for the generosity that he showed to the poor children in his village. I'm no fan of what Santa Claus has become in our culture and what he represents today, but let's not get carried away and get it twisted and say that the fat, jolly man in the red suit is actually Satan in disguise. That's just silly, and it's a lie. And by the way, Easter, as he said, is a replacement for Passover. Easter's not Passover's replacement. It has never been that in Christian history. Christians, many of us, still recognize the Passover on Thursday of every Holy Week. Many churches even hold special worship services that night. We call it Maundy Thursday. It's a nod to the Passover where we remember the Last Supper, which is a commemoration of the Passover meal.
And they fooled you. Don't worry, family. They got us all because they want us to turn into the Grinch. They don't want us to know the truth, because if we don't know the truth, we can't follow it. We just follow a version of it, and we know that a half lie equals not the truth. A half truth is not the truth. It's a lie. That's what you get every year when we open up those presents. It's basically we're opening up a lie. So remember, Easter is no better than Christmas. As a matter of fact, Easter is probably one of the most evil, pagan, Babylonian-based traditions or holy days that people keep today, and it's an invention of the modern-day church. So anyways, this is why we are supposed to return back to the truth. Hebrew means to cross back over, to undo the illusion so that we can see. It's also why we ended up making y'all the Health Bible. Everything that you need to know is going to be available at jacobslink.com or hit the link in the bio.
Got it. I get it now. He's selling his own Bible. Now the rest of it makes sense. And even though it was confused, at first he said the ancient Babylonians created Easter, and then he said it was an invention of the modern church. So I'm not sure which one he means. This guy was wrong about a lot. The only thing he was right about is when he said a half-truth is no truth at all. I believe that 100%. I only wish he would take his own advice and tell the whole truth. All right, that's all for today. I'm blown away, flabbergasted, and mystified by some of these videos. Just to summarize, I know there's no shortage of conspiracy theories out there these days. Nobody's trusting anything that they're told, and oftentimes that's for very good reasons. But the only conspiracies about Easter are the ones being told in spaces like TikTok by people who don't really know what they're talking about. So be careful who you choose to listen to. Be careful what you believe and what you accept. Keep on asking questions and keep seeking the truth. And I believe that God will meet you along the way as you walk that journey. Leave me your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you next time. Thank you.